Sources say the government plans to raise fees at public hospital emergency rooms based on the patient's level of urgency. A fatal knife attack on the street in Fo-Tan. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. Sources say the government plans to raise accident and emergency department fees at public hospitals based on the patient's level of urgency. The highest fee could exceed the existing $180, while the lowest level would be free of charge. The plan isn't part of the authorities' determination to tackle abuses of public health services. Mimo Singai reports.
At about 1 p.m. on a weekday, the waiting area of the A&E department of Tuen Mun Hospital was packed with patients. The department's dashboard showed that 78 people were in the queue. 80% of them were categorized as semi-urgent and non-urgent patients. They had to wait for more than 4 hours to see the doctor. The rest belonged to the urgent group, and the waiting time was about an hour. Some semi-urgent and non-urgent patients explained why they visited the A&E department. My middle finger hurt. I'm not sure what happened. I haven't injured myself or done anything, said this woman who had waited for about 3 hours. This elderly woman was an urgent patient, but she also waited in the lobby for 4 hours. I found blood in my urine, and the nurse asked me to come to the A&E. Where are the doctors? I don't see them, she complained. The hospital says the root of the problem lies in the fact that the department attracts a large number of non-urgent patients. For instance, the average daily A&E patients before and after a long weekend reaches 500. A doctor said medical professionals in the past might not spend too much time treating stroke or heart disease patients at A&E. He said medics would now hold onto the golden hour and spend longer time on those patients because more research studies have been conducted. Sources say the government may announce changes to public health service fees by the end of this month at the earliest. The current A&E fee at public hospitals is fixed at $180, including medication. That fee has been in place since 2017. Mimo Singai, TVB News.
A man died after being involved in a knife attack on Sunday evening. Sources say the victim had a triad background. The incident happened near the junction of Sui Wo Road and Lai Wo Lane in Fo-Tan. Blood was left at the scene after the attack, objects scattered across the pavement. Police received a report at around 5:30 p.m. that a man aged about 50 was under a knife attack by 2 men. The 2 men then boarded a taxi and fled the scene. The man was sent to Prince of Wales Hospital and was later pronounced dead. Russia and Ukraine have continued heavy aerial attacks on each other, with both sides reporting more than 100 enemy drones over their territories. This comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin met U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss an American proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a virtual meeting with mostly European leaders on providing security for Ukraine in a post-war scenario. Nazvi Karim with more.
It was U.S. President Donald Trump who bypassed Europe and reached out to Russian President Vladimir Putin on a possible peace deal. It prompted the Europeans into action, with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London, French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev, and the leaders of Germany, Italy, Canada, Australia, and other countries meeting virtually to express their support for Ukraine. As Russia steps up attacks on Kherson and other regions, Europe is ready to put pressure on Putin to accept a U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire. Putin agrees to it in principle, though he has placed conditions that likely run counter to the security guarantees sought by Zelensky. One of them is Russia's rejection of any deal that allows European troops to act as peacekeepers in Ukraine. Starmer said the coalition of the willing is committed to securing any ceasefire.
We agreed we will keep increasing the pressure on Russia, keep the military aid flowing to Ukraine, and keep tightening the restrictions on Russia's economy to weaken Putin's war machine and bring him to the table Our militaries will meet on Thursday this week here in the United Kingdom to put strong and robust plans in place to swing in behind a peace deal and guarantee Ukraine's future security. President Trump has offered Putin the way forward to a lasting peace. Now we must make this a reality.
Trump insists it is Europe's responsibility to look after Ukraine post-war, with the Europeans also wanting a US security backstop to ensure a lasting peace after 3 years of war. During the meeting, Zelensky said Russia is the only obstacle.
I ask you to talk to everyone from Brazil to China, from African nations to Asian countries, about the fact that real peace is needed, peace through strength, peace through forcing Russia to take all necessary steps for the sake of peace.
The United States is expelling South Africa's ambassador, with Secretary of State Mark Rubio calling him a race-baiting politician who hates President Donald Trump. The South African president's office on Saturday described the expulsion of Ebrahim Rasool regrettable, calling for a diplomatic decorum between the two nations. Rubio posted on social media in reaction to an address delivered by Rasool that reportedly criticized Trump. It marks a further deterioration in ties between the two countries after South Africa's genocide case against U.S. ally Israel at the International Court of Justice. Trump has also hit out at South Africa's land policy, which he said targets certain classes of people. The U.S. alleged that white farmers in South Africa are being discriminated against under land reform policies. Still ahead, extreme weather leaves at least 32 dead in central and southern United States. The first running event at Kai Tak Sports Park. And a look at so-called academic pubs in Beijing. Welcome back. Violent tornadoes and high winds have decimated homes, wiped out schools, and toppled semi-tractor trailers in central and southern United States. The huge storm system left at least 32 people dead as it ripped its way across the region. Daniel Rao reports.
A massive storm system moving across the United States has unleashed winds that triggered deadly dust storms and fanned wildfires. The extreme weather conditions were forecast to impact an area that is home to more than 100 million people. Evacuations were ordered in some Oklahoma communities as more than 130 fires were reported across the state. Nearly 300 homes have been damaged or destroyed in Oklahoma due to fire. Speaking at a press conference, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt said some 266 square miles have burned so far in his state.
What we know right now is there's about 170,000 acres that were burned, and forestry is up flying right now to kind of get the exact number. We have, last night I had a report of about 293 homes / structures that were destroyed. It was just a perfect storm. It was the humidity levels went down to kind of record lows, below 10%, and then with the winds where they were, it just dried everything out. And so we should have a couple good days in a row here to get all the fires out, because there's a little bit of risk coming back in maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Up to 19 tornadoes have passed through the Midwest state of Missouri. The director of emergency management in the state's Butler County told reporters more than 500 homes, a church, and a grocery store in the county were destroyed by tornadoes. In the southern state of Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves announced on Saturday that at least 6 people died in 3 counties and 3 more people were missing. Local media outlets reported multiple tornadoes moved from the southwest to the northeast of the state, causing significant damage to multiple areas. The U.S. National Weather Service has now issued blizzard warnings for parts of far western Minnesota and far eastern South Dakota. Snow accumulations of 3 to 6 inches were expected. Winds were expected to cause whiteout conditions. Still, experts said it's not unusual to see such weather extremes in March. Daniel, TV News.
Hong Kong is set to co-host the 15th National Games with Guangdong and Macau in November. Yung Tak Kung, head of the National Games Coordination Office, said authorities will learn from the experience of test events held before and make improvements for the actual games. Samantha Lee tells us more.
The 15th National Games will be held in Hong Kong, Guangdong and Macau in November. As one of the co-organizers, Hong Kong has conducted several test events, including the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Road cycling race and the Shenzhen-Hong Kong Marathon. Speaking on a radio program, Yung Tak Kung, head of the National Games Coordination Office, said those trials ran smoothly, but there was room for improvement.
Because during the road cycling and marathon, sometimes the leading group and the other athletes, they may be the distance, maybe not so close together. So how we can provide better support to them, that is one area that we think we can further improve.
The National Games will feature events for 34 sports, of which the city will stage 8, such as triathlon, fencing and golf. Besides, the Games will also stage 23 mass participation events, which are open to members of the public.
From February to April, we will accept applications to join the selection rounds of the mass participation events. And then before May this year, we'll conduct the selection for all these mass participation events, and then the finals will be held after May, mostly from June to October. It will be held in different cities in the Greater Bay Area.
Meanwhile, Yuan said authorities have received more than 30,000 applications for volunteers at the National Games. He said some 17,000 people will be initially selected, and at least 15,000 are expected to take up duties at the Games. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The first running event was held at Kai Tak Sports Park today. About 3,200 runners took part. The starting and ending points of the event were located at Kai Tak Youth Sports Ground. With race distances of 3 and 5 kilometers, athletes had to run through the entire area of the Kai Tak Sports Park complex. After the race, some participants said they enjoyed the run because they had passed by Kai Tak's various attractions. And in mainland China, academic pubs have sprung up in cities such as Beijing and Shanghai, where people attend lectures in bars with drinks in hand. Speakers include professors and scholars from various academic fields. Sakura Ip spoke to some of the speakers and audience members at one of these unconventional bars.
Instead of a bookstore, it's a bar that has transformed into a hub of intellectual exchange during weekend evenings. Located in Wudaokou, Haidian District, Beijing, a neighborhood known for its world-famous universities like Peking University and Tsinghua University. This bar attracts speakers and audience members comprising professors, researchers, and postgraduate students. Li Xiaokai, a doctoral student from Beijing Normal University, is one of the regulars here. He has shared his research on systems science. He is building a big data system to analyze the patterns by plotting the timelines of famous philosophers, economists, and politicians publishing their works. This is also a stage for entrepreneurs. Dong Junhong completed her bachelor's degree in Australia. She's now developing games related to urban exploration and city walks as her second career. She said this is a good opportunity for the team to engage potential users and seek collaborations, covering a broad range of topics. These events draw a crowd of professionals who, after a long day at work, would like to spend some time attending a lecture with a drink in hand. It's a combination of socializing, learning, and relaxing. This kind of academic pub is a rising trend in cities like Beijing and Shanghai. It's also a lifesaver for this bar, which started hosting academic lectures in June, resulting in a doubling of its business. Natasha, who runs all the lectures for this bar, says it's benefit from the neighborhood, which is packed with universities. It's easier to invite speakers and gather an audience here than elsewhere in Beijing.
For those who are interested in becoming speakers and delivering lecture here, they don't need a doctor degree, but they'll need approval on their materials and topics from the organizer. Zachary, TVB News, Beijing.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.